Whoa, 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 what's this? New drone laws in Canada? I think it's a new interim drone law. It's not the permanent proposed one, but it's a change. It was published today on the Canada Gazette. Kind of interesting, it came out on a weekend. So you guys are going to be learning with me to see what's going on here. Now the first part of this, it looks like it's the same thing so far. For example, they say you shouldn't operate the drone on more than 300 feet above ground level, so about 90 meters in the air, within the controlled airspace and so forth. And as most of you know, one of the biggest issues was things like being away from all the animals, like the 75 meters, the 9 kilometers from every heliport and aerodrome and so forth. Those were the biggest issues I felt anyways in terms of being able to fly, like, you know, even in open fields. So this point number 3 here is actually interesting. It says, no person shall operate a model aircraft having a total weight of more than 250 grams, but no more than 1 kilogram at a lateral distance of less than 100 feet or 30 meters from vehicles, vessels, or the public, including spectators, bystanders, or any person not associated with operations of the aircraft. Okay, that's a big difference. I mean, before it said 75 meters away from anyone, so this basically dropped more than half. And one of the biggest things here, if I'm understanding this correctly, they actually took out the terms of staying away from the animals and buildings, if I'm not mistaken. Holy cow, that's actually pretty huge. I mean, unless someone correct me if I'm wrong, so that means you can technically like fly it, even if there's like, say, a bird and all that, obviously with common sense, like don't be stupid. But again, they took away specifically the point about the buildings. So does that mean you can like take pictures or videos around a general buildings or city areas and so forth, like assuming you're away from everything else like that's listed here? Because it makes a lot more sense than before, 75 meters from every single animal and building you can think of. So that's a good step in the right direction. And another point about this is the weight. 250 grams, but no more than 1 kilogram. So according to this particular restriction, something like my Mavic Pro would be good for this in terms of the 30 meters away from everything. Because the Mavic Pro, if I'm not mistaken, weighs about 1.6 like pounds, if I'm not mistaken, around that area in terms of weight. So I could actually fly it like in open fields, I guess. That's a good thing. One thing I would still be a little bit confused about here though, it says you have to stay away from the public, including spectators or bystanders or any person not associated with the aircraft. So does that mean technically if I'm taking the drone and I'm filming people, like just say friends, like everyone agrees, yeah, no problem, or even a bystander, like they say they come up, they want to see it and say, hey, come here. Does that mean you're not allowed to do that? So that's just a little bit of the unclear part for me there. Now for weight though, it does say for the other drones that weigh about 2.2 pounds or more than to 77.2 pounds. For those, they say they want you to stay at least 75 meters away from all the items still. But again, it doesn't have the clause about the animals or the buildings, so that should be more flexible. And then as we go to point 5, here is one of the big ones, the ones about the distance from the aerodromes. And it seems like they tried to make a clear, distinct difference between, I guess, an aerodrome that has items like a plane versus something that's just for helicopters. It says here, no person shall operate a model aircraft within 3 nautical miles or 5.5 kilometers of the center of an aerodrome except a helicopter or an aerodrome that is used exclusively by helicopters. And for that, it would be within 1 nautical mile of a helicopter or an aerodrome that is used exclusively by helicopters or inside an aerodrome of a control zone. So if I'm understanding this correctly, and anyone feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, what they're saying is, like, say for something like an airport, they want you to stay 5.5 kilometers away from it. But if it's just a heliport, for example, like I would assume what they mean is things like, say, if it's a helipad that's just for a news helicopter, then for those, they only want you to stay 1.8 kilometers away from those.
You can pet him, man. He's not really a people doggy. He kind of just does his own thing.
I just didn't know why he was going in the water there.
I was probably thirsty.
Like
critters in there.
And yes, at least these new changes look brighter for Canadians that are flying drones. I guess in many ways I can film the wildlife again as long as I'm doing it really safe and everything, right? I think this is actually good for people that fly for fun too, like model aircrafts, because I think this new weight restriction actually helps immensely. I'm interested in hearing what everyone else thinks too. I would like to think all the conversations and dialogue is helping with all this too. So hopefully people continue the conversation about it, because here's your chance. Basically say what you feel about it. It's not, again, it's not the official permanent proposal, but it's a step. So basically people can still give their inputs on what's reasonable, what's ridiculous. I would think an important part of the conversation too is just because it's more reasonable now doesn't mean you should stop giving input, because in some ways a lot of the stuff still doesn't make sense. Like for example, they still have, to my knowledge from reading this, that you have to put your full name, address, your telephone number and everything right in front of the drone for all to see. I mean, to me that's not acceptable. If you want to make like a registration system where people have like a code or something like that, like on the drone, then that makes more sense, because that's not acceptable like in any other vehicle, toy or whatever you want to call it that I can think of like in the world, or at least here in Canada. But again, it's a good step in the right direction. I mean, like for me, for example, flying somewhere here where there's mostly just nature stuff in the field, the only thing that was stopping me for the most part in a lot of areas is the fact that it's around 9 kilometers within the helipads and the airport. So this actually opens up a lot of places that I can potentially fly again. I was reading a comment before, I think one of you guys mentioned it. It was something about like, even if you're around like say the airports and all that, one of the rules maybe to make it more sense, like in a common sense way, is you can only fly as high as the tallest object, like say here, the tree. So if I was near an airport, you literally cannot fly higher than that tree just to be safe. I mean, to me that actually makes sense, because there's no way like an airplane or a helicopter should be going like down that as an example. Guess what this means, guys? And look at that, no animals, people, buildings, airports or whatever, helipads, helicopters, airplanes were harmed in the filming of that drone footage. I mean, in general, it should just come down to common sense in many ways. Is that a Spark?
Yes, sir.
It is. That's the first Spark I've seen out here.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Watch out. I'm still waiting on the remote to ship.
Oh yeah?
So until then, it's still relying on the GPS.
Oh nice. Hear about the new law today?
Days ago, so I haven't really pushed it far yet.
At least you dare to catch that. Cool, that's the first time I saw the Spark. Kind of a good day, I guess, to see drones with the new laws and everything like that too, with the interim laws. And for laws in general, I think things like that Spark should be okay, like in most places normally. Because that thing is like really tiny. Like I can understand, flying it like an idiot, like right into the airport and into the planes. Yeah, but in places like this, if you're taking like a selfie of yourself or people on the beach, I don't see why something like that should be so restricted in many ways. I mean, in my opinion, that's no more dangerous than people, I don't know, throwing like a ball around in many ways. And thanks to everyone who's been helping me, giving me information about the drones and everything. And I'm doing my best again to try to educate the public about this so we can all hopefully get the laws like better for the drone flyers. Like a lot of the technical stuff I wouldn't know as well, like in terms of how this would impact this if it crashed. I mean, that requires people a little bit more like with scientific or engineer background. Like for me, all I can really show is from a down-to-earth recreational flyer point of view. I mean, for the most part, people fly very safe, so there shouldn't be a need to like fear-monger people. I mean, let's put like rules that make sense, but don't restrict the tech in a ridiculous way. So I'd be interested in hearing all your guys' conversations about this new interim law. Again, it's not the permanent proposed ones, but at least it's a start. All right, see you guys later.